Hey, what's going on today, guys? It is Sticks10 here, and we've got your Kingdom Cup announcement and looking at a few of the mons that might be interesting to test out, power up, that kind of stuff. I would suggest testing everything and then powering it up fully. Just see how it performs for you, unlocking second moves, etc., etc. The Kingdom Cup is going to take place in April, and it is going to consist of Ice, Fire, Steel, and Dragon. So you can recycle a few mons from previous ones, but you can also, there are some new ones and it definitely changes the meta a lot from even Tempest Cup last month, even though some of them do go over from the other cups. So let's take a look at pvpoke.com, and we're going to start here. We've got number one is Lapras. Lapras this time they're showing is going to use Water Gun and probably Surf, and then either I would think you want Dragon Pulse or Ice Beam as the secondary move. I don't think Hydro Pump's going to help in most cases, so I would recommend Ice or and Surf probably there. Lucario is a new one. I don't actually have one yet. I haven't hatched one, so I've been looking to trade with. The thing about it is it has Power Up Punch, which obviously is going to be very good, and definitely this shapes the meta, I feel like. It is what you're going to want to have. Counter for sure. I don't see any scenario where you would want Bullet Punch, maybe against something that's weak to Steel, but for the most part, counter, Power Up Punch, so you can get to those power up punches quickly, and then probably Shadow Ball. I don't feel like Flash Cannon gives you anything. Shadow Ball gives you a lot of neutral damage against a lot of the meta. And you can see its key matchups are Bastiodon, Lapras, Celio, Steelix. So your Ice and your Steel are definitely going to be ones that do quite a bit against it. And then your top counters are your Fire types. Most notably, probably of these, are going to be Charizard, Blaziken, and Torkoal. I think Charizard does a little bit better at countering it just because it is a flying type, so it resists the fighting type moves. So definitely going to want a Lucario. Bastiodon is another one. We've got Smackdown, Stone Edge Flamethrower, Flash Cannon. I don't see a whole lot of use for either here. And your key matchups are Charizard. You can see it knocks it out with just Smackdown, kind of like Rhyperior and Tempest Cup, but Bastiodon is actually better than Rhyperior. I think it's going to do a lot better in this meta. And then you got Altaria is another one to look at. Celio might be meta relevant, but I don't know if it is as much. You can also, it'll help you against Lapras and stuff like that. Going to be a closer matchup. Now they are ranking Celio and Wailing pretty high. Now you're going to want to watch, it's going to be water moves, so you're not going to charge up that Body Slam as fast as you did in Tempest Cup. You know, we had a previous video about Tempest Cup, and we ran Powder Snow, Aurora Beam. Obviously that's not as good in this meta. You still could run it. But you're going to be weak against your fighting, your steel, your fire. So there's a lot of things that it's not going to be as good against. Obviously, still good against your dragons. A lot of them are double weak to it still, but there's a new challenger there that is not double weak to ice. We've got Flygon. It is double weak to ice, but I think it's actually going to be very solid in this tournament. Obviously, ice types are going to cause it a problem. You're going to want to run Mud Shot, fastest charge move, or fastest energy per turn move in the game, tied with a couple others, Thunder Shock notably. And then we've got Dragon Claw, and then they're showing Stone Edge. I'm not sure if you really want to run Stone Edge, or if I think you'd rather run Earthquake to hit a lot of these. But either way, you're going to charge them up fairly quickly. I haven't tested this yet. Right now, my current one that I have is Mudshot Dragon Claw. So definitely want to test that out, see how it does. Hopefully you guys have hatched a ton of Trapinch. If you're like me, I hatched a boatload of them. It is going to be 75 candy, 75,000 Stardust to unlock the second move, but definitely worth it. I think most notable matchups here are Bastiodon and Melmetal. Melmetal might be in the meta, but I think there's so many counters to it, it may not be as meta relevant as I was hoping it'd be, because I do have one now. You can see right here with Thundershock, Thunderbolt, and Rock Slide. Definitely could change that moveset around to fit this meta a little bit. And Steelix. Steelix, I ran Steelix in Tempest Cup. I thought it was pretty good. I'm not 100% sold on how it's going to do in this meta with new counters to it, because we do have all of the water types from Lapras. Like Lantern was a counter to it in Tempest Cup, but you could see with Water Gun, of course. So you've got Lapras, Flygon, and then all your fire types are going to do fairly decent damage against it. And Lucario, of course, with those fighting type moves, is going to do quite a bit, and your Dragon Tail is not going to do hardly anything to it because it's a steel type. So interesting there. Alolan Marowak makes a resurgence here. It was something you could use in Twilight Cup. Not a lot of people ran it, but you could run it there, and you might already have this moveset on it. You can see some of the top ones are Dragon types over here, Dragon and Steel. And then Blaziken, Magmar, Magmortar. So those are some of your top ones. It doesn't do so well against Lucario, so there's Melmetal. It ranks pretty high, but I think a lot of the meta-relevant Pokemon are doing super effective damage against Melmetal, so I'm not sure if it's going to make the top 6 on your squad. I've got Blaziken. I think Blaziken's interesting because it gets counter. If you have, for some reason, you have a Stone Edge Blaziken that was available for a super short amount of time and is a legacy move, congrats to you, and that's pretty awesome. The rest of its moves are kind of meh. Like, they're just okay. It's definitely going to be a closer. And then Charizard is one that I think is going to be meta relevant. It does beat Lucario with just fast moves. Beats Blaziken depending on the moveset, I believe. Lapras it can beat. It also does fairly well against like Altaria and those types. But it's countered pretty heavily by any rock and water types. So gotta watch out for that. Dragonair is an interesting one that I want to take a look at. I haven't looked a whole lot at it. Obviously, Dragon Breath, Aqua Tail, Wrap, Dragon Pulse, or some of its moves that it can have. Interesting matchups against the fire types. But it does lose to quite a few other things that are meta relevant. So interesting one there. Altaria is on here. Skarmory. I think Skarmory's going to be kind of more mediocre in this one. There are a lot of counters available now. More so even than in the Tempest Cup. This ain't the Boulder Cup anymore, Skarmory. Sorry. We got Altaria. I think it's still going to be fairly decent. Obviously, it beats a lot of the fire types. Charizard, it matters on... it really matters on shield uses on Charizard. Charizard can beat it. So this isn't quite accurate. And it really depends on movesets on a lot of these. And one I wanted to talk about... Where is it on this list? Frostlass, of course, I could kind of see it. Registeel, no. Arcanine, I do have an Arcanine. I really want to at least test it out. I don't think it's going to be meta relevant because there are a lot better fire types in it. Even though the fire types are pretty terrible, I think there's better options than it. But I do at least want to test it out. It has an interesting moveset. If for no other reason. And Kingdra is one that I want to look at a little closer. I do have one with Dragon Breath, and I also have one with the Legacy moveset Water Gun. Waterfall performs fairly similarly. It just doesn't charge as fast. I believe it's 2.67 and a 3 duration move instead of Water Gun's a 3 energy per turn. So a little bit different there. Outrage, Hydro Pump, Blizzard. I think the charge moves are what make it not as good. Obviously, it's gonna beat your fire types, but it is countered by quite a few things. It is countered by quite a few things, including Lucario, your Celio, Steelix, that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing about it is takes neutral damage from ice type moves. So that may be one advantage it has over some of the other dragon types that are all going to be weak or double weak to ice type moves. So something interesting about Kingdra. I think that pretty much rounds it out. We're gonna start testing to see kind of what where we fall in this list. Gotta get a Lucario. You know, gotta see is Steelix good. You know, Frostlass, we'll test it out. I'm not sure on that. Flygon's one I'm really interested in, and I think it is going to be very meta relevant to this league. Celio, not sold on that. Altaria is a good one. I did want to show. Let's see, and then we've got our Shieldon. I'm looking for a little bit better one. This is a level 34, and I'm going to have to max it out in order for it to be even close to it. So I'm looking to trade with people to see if I can get a better one. And of course, it's super expensive to unlock that second move. That's one thing about this cup. You've got two super meta relevant Pokemon in Bastiodon and Lucario that are both fairly expensive. You want to get the second charge move on the baby form of Lucario and then evolve it, but make sure it's going to evolve below Great League standards, so below 1500, because if it evolves above that, it's useless. So make sure that is one thing for sure. I've got some in here that I was just like, oh, I'll throw some in that are at least available. You know, Alolan Ninetales I don't think is any good in this league. Mad Cargo is just an interesting one to at least test out, see if it does anything. Camerupt, same thing. The Reggies, I don't think either one of them is going to be good just because of their charge moves. Mawile, maybe, like, you know, you've got the advantage of dragon, it resists dragon moves, but I don't know how much dragons are going to really play into the cup. I know Flygon, Altaria are probably the two that I'm looking at, with Kingdra being a third. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and we'll talk more about this cup coming up. Thanks.